This is maxandmia podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to maxandmia podcast, the podcast where we chat about everyday life in English.
Hi there. Thanks for tuning in today. We're so happy you decided to spend some time with us this morning, or afternoon, or whenever you're listening.
You know, Mia, speaking of time, I had the strangest morning today. I woke up and completely forgot what day it was.
Oh no, that's the worst feeling, isn't it? I hate when that happens. Did you figure it out eventually?
Well, I looked at my phone and realized it was Tuesday, but for a moment I thought I was late for work. My heart was beating so fast.
That reminds me of last week when my alarm didn't go off. I jumped out of bed thinking I'd overslept, but it was actually Saturday.
Classic. You know what's funny? Everyone has such different ways of starting their day. Some people are morning people, others, well, not so much.
That's so true. I'm definitely someone who needs at least 2 cups of coffee before I can have a proper conversation. What about you, Max?
I'm the opposite. I'm one of those annoying people who wakes up ready to chat about anything and everything.
And speaking of morning habits, I think our listeners might find it interesting to hear about how we both start our days. Plus, it's such a great topic for practicing English.
Absolutely. So today, we're going to talk about morning routines, what we do, what we don't do, and maybe some tips for making mornings a bit easier.
Perfect. So Max, why don't you kick us off? Tell us about your typical morning routine.
Sure. Well, I usually wake up around 6:30 a.m. on weekdays. My alarm goes off, and honestly, I'm one of those people who snoozes it at least twice.
Oh, you're a snoozer. I should explain that to our listeners. When you snooze an alarm, you press a button to make it stop for a few minutes, but then it rings again.
Exactly. Thanks for that clarification. So, after I finally drag myself out of bed, and by the way, drag myself means to force yourself to do something when you don't want to. Then, I stumble to the bathroom.
Stumble is a great word. It means to walk unsteadily, like when you're still half asleep. So, what's the first thing you usually do in the bathroom?
Well, I splash some cold water on my face to wake up properly. Then I brush my teeth. That's essential. I can't start the day without fresh breath.
Good habit. And do you shower in the morning or at night?
I'm definitely a morning shower person. It helps me wake up completely. I spend about 10 minutes in there and I usually end up singing, though I won't subject you all to that.
I'm sure you have a lovely voice. So after your shower, what comes next?
I get dressed for work. Since I work in an office, I need to look presentable. I usually put on a button-down shirt and dress pants. Nothing too fancy, but professional.
Presentable means looking neat and suitable for the situation, by the way. Now tell me, do you eat breakfast at home?
I do. I head down to the kitchen. And head down is a phrasal verb, meaning to go to a place with purpose. I'm not a big breakfast person, but I know it's important. I usually grab a piece of toast and spread some peanut butter on it.
Just toast? That seems pretty light for someone who works outside the home.
Well, I also make coffee, and this is crucial. I can't function without my morning coffee. I have one of those single-serve machines, so I just pop in a pod and press a button.
So you're basically useless without coffee.
Pretty much. While the coffee's brewing, I usually check my phone for any urgent messages or emails. I try not to get too caught up in social media, though.
That's smart. And hey, listeners, get caught up means to become too involved in something and lose track of time. And what happens after you've had your coffee?
I gather my things for work. I pack my laptop, grab my wallet and keys, and make sure I haven't forgotten anything important. Last week, I left my phone at home and felt completely lost.
Oh no! Gather means to collect or bring together. And feeling lost without your phone, I think everyone can relate to that. How do you get to work?
I drive to work. It takes about 25 minutes depending on traffic. I usually listen to music or sometimes a podcast, like this one.
Shameless self-promotion, I love it. Do you have a specific routine in the car?
Well, I always check the weather app before I leave. If it looks like rain, I'll throw an umbrella in my bag. And I've gotten into the habit of calling my mom on the way to work.
Oh, that's sweet. And hey, throw here doesn't mean to actually toss something. It means to drop something casually into a bag or container. And gotten into the habit means you've started doing something regularly. How long do you talk to your mom?
Usually about 10 minutes. She's an early riser too, so she's always up by then. It's a nice way to start the day catching up with family.
Early riser. Someone who wakes up early naturally. And catching up means talking to learn about recent news or events in someone's life. That sounds lovely. What time do you typically arrive at work?
I usually pull into the parking lot around 7:45 a.m. That gives me time to settle in before the workday officially starts at 8:30.
Pull into. Another phrasal verb meaning to drive into a parking area. And settle in means to get comfortable and organized in a place. Do you do anything specific once you get to the office?
First, I turn on my computer and let it boot up while I organize my desk. Then I pour myself another cup of coffee from the office coffee maker. And yes, I need that second cup.
Boot up means to start a computer. And it sounds like you really depend on coffee. Do you plan out your day in the morning?
Absolutely. I review my calendar and make a quick to-do list. I find that if I don't write things down, I tend to forget important tasks throughout the day.
That's great organization. Tend to means you usually do something or it often happens. So, you're pretty structured with your mornings then?
I'd say so. I've learned that having a routine helps me feel more prepared and less stressed. When I used to just wing it, I'd often show up to work feeling scattered.
The expression wing it means to do something without a clear plan or getting ready in advance. And scattered means disorganized or unable to concentrate. It sounds like your routine really works for you.
It does, though I have to admit, weekends are completely different. I sleep in and take my time with everything.
Sleep in means to wake up later than usual. I think most people can relate to having different weekend routines. Well, that gives us a great picture of your morning. It sounds like you've got it down to a science.
Got it down to a science. That's a nice expression, meaning you've perfected a process through practice. Thanks, Mia. Now I'm curious about your routine, especially since you work from home. I imagine it's quite different from mine.
It definitely is. Let me tell you about my morning routine. So, as Max mentioned, I work from home, which completely changes how I approach my mornings. I don't have to rush out the door or worry about traffic, but that doesn't mean I just roll out of bed and start working.
Roll out of bed. That's a great expression meaning to get up lazily or without much effort. So what time do you usually wake up?
I'm naturally more of a night owl than Max, so I tend to wake up around 7:30 or 8 a.m. I don't set an alarm most days because I've trained my body to wake up naturally.
The phrase night owl refers to someone who stays up late and prefers evening hours, the opposite of an early bird. That's interesting that you don't use an alarm. How did you train yourself to do that?
Well, it took some time, but I gradually shifted my bedtime earlier and tried to wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Now my body just knows when it's time to get up.
That's impressive. So what's the first thing you do when you wake up?
Honestly, I check my phone. I know, everyone says you shouldn't do that. but I like to see if there are any urgent messages from clients or family members in different time zones.
Fair enough. Do you get sucked into social media right away, or do you stick to just checking messages?
For those who don't know, get sucked into means becoming absorbed in something without realizing it. And yes, I do that sometimes. I'll tell myself I'm just checking one thing, and suddenly I'm scrolling through Instagram for 20 minutes.
We've all been there. What helps you break away from the phone?
Usually my cat. She starts meowing for breakfast, and that snaps me out of my phone trance. Snap out of means to suddenly stop doing something and return to reality.
So your cat is your alarm clock. What's her name?
Luna, and she's very demanding about her breakfast schedule. She'll actually sit on my chest until I get up to feed her.
That's hilarious. So Luna gets you moving. What happens after you feed her?
I head to the kitchen and put the kettle on for tea. I'm not a coffee person like Max. I'm definitely team tea. While the water's heating up, I open all the curtains to let natural light in.
Put the kettle on means to start heating water for tea. And I should mention that team tea or team coffee is a fun way to show your preference. Why is natural light important to you?
It helps me wake up fully and creates a good tone for the day. There's actually science behind this. Natural light helps regulate your circadian rhythm.
Circadian rhythm refers to your body's natural 24-hour cycle that controls when you feel sleepy or alert. That's really smart. What kind of tea do you usually have?
I switch it up depending on my mood. Sometimes it's green tea if I need a gentle energy boost, or chamomile if I want something soothing. Today I had Earl Grey. It's my go-to when I can't decide.
Switch it up means to change or vary something regularly. And go-to refers to your default choice or favorite option. Do you eat breakfast right away?
Not immediately. I take my tea and usually sit by the window for about 15 minutes. I call this my quiet time. No phone, no work thoughts, just me and my tea, watching the world wake up.
That sounds really peaceful. Quiet time is personal time for reflection or relaxation. I think I need to incorporate something like that into my routine. Do you meditate during this time?
Sometimes I do a quick 5-minute meditation using an app, but other days, I just let my mind wander. Let your mind wander means to allow your thoughts to drift freely without focusing on anything specific.
That's a great way to start the day mindfully. What about breakfast?
After my quiet time, I usually make something more substantial than Max's toast. I love making smoothie bowls. I blend frozen fruits with yogurt and top it with granola and fresh berries.
That sounds delicious and much healthier than my peanut butter toast. How long does that take to prepare?
About 10 minutes to make, and I take my time eating it. Maybe another 15 minutes. Since I don't have to rush anywhere, I can actually enjoy my breakfast instead of wolfing it down.
Wolf it down means to eat something very quickly, usually because you're in a hurry. That's definitely one advantage of working from home. What's your morning routine like after breakfast?
Well, I shower and get dressed, but not in work clothes like Max. I call it comfortable professional. Nice enough for video calls, but comfortable enough to work in all day.
Comfortable professional. I like that term. So you might wear nice jeans and a good top?
Exactly. And here's something funny. I always do my hair and put on a little makeup, even though I'm working from home. It helps me feel more professional and ready to tackle the day.
Tackle the day means to approach your daily tasks with energy and determination. Do you find that getting dressed properly affects your productivity?
Absolutely. When I first started working from home, I'd stay in pajamas sometimes, and I noticed I felt less motivated. Getting dressed signals to my brain that it's time to work.
That's fascinating. What about setting up your workspace in the morning?
Great question. I have a dedicated home office, so every morning I tidy up from the day before. I clear my desk, water my plants. Yes, I have plants in my office, and light a candle.
Tidy up means to clean and organize. The plants and candles sound like they create a nice atmosphere. Do you plan your workday like I do?
I do, but differently. I keep a bullet journal where I write down my priorities for the day. I also check my calendar and respond to any emails that came in overnight.
Bullet journal is a specific organizational system using bullet points and symbols. That sounds very organized. How long does this morning setup take?
The whole routine, from waking up to starting work, takes about 2 hours. I know that sounds like a lot, but remember, I don't have a commute. Max spends almost an hour just getting to work.
That's a good point. And it sounds like you've created a routine that really works for you. Do you ever miss the energy of an office environment?
Sometimes I do miss the buzz of being around colleagues, but I love the flexibility. If I want to take a longer lunch break or start earlier some days, I can adjust my schedule.
The buzz refers to the excited, energetic atmosphere of a busy place. And adjust means to change or modify something. It sounds like you found a good balance.
I think I have. Though I'll admit, weekends are tricky because I don't have that clear separation between home and work like you do. I have to be more intentional about switching off.
Switch off means to stop thinking about work and relax. That's definitely a challenge when your home is also your office. Well, it's interesting how different our routines are, but they both seem to work well for our lifestyles.
Exactly. And I think that's the key message for our listeners. There's no perfect morning routine. It's about finding what works for your situation, whether you work from home, in an office, or somewhere else entirely.
I think that's such valuable advice, Mia. The key takeaway here is that morning routines should be personal and practical for your lifestyle.
And for our listeners who are learning English, talking about daily routines is such a great way to practice describing habits and using different verb tenses.
That's right. We used so many useful expressions today. We talked about phrasal verbs like wake up, get dressed, head to work, and switch off.
Don't forget about roll out of bed, wolf down, and get sucked into. These are the kinds of expressions native speakers use every single day.
Exactly. And we also practiced using different tenses: present simple for habits, past tense for specific examples, and present perfect for experiences.
Speaking of practice, we'd love to hear from you. What does your morning routine look like? Do you relate more to Max's structured office routine or my flexible work-from-home schedule?
Great question. You can share your morning routine in the comments below. Try to use some of the phrasal verbs we mentioned today. For example, I wake up at, or I usually grab breakfast and head out the door.
And don't worry about making mistakes. The comment section is a friendly place to work on your English. We read every single comment, and we love seeing how you're getting better.
If you found today's episode helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps other English learners discover our content.
And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell.
We're always looking for new topics to cover, so if there's something specific you'd like us to discuss, maybe evening routines, weekend activities, or holiday traditions, let us know in the comments.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you in the next episode of Max and Mia, where we make learning English fun and practical.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep improving, and remember, every small step counts on your English learning journey.
Bye, everyone.
See you soon.